Hello, everyone. Hope you are handling the news okay with the acquisition of Affinity by Canva. So, yeah, I thought I would jump in and share a few thoughts. There's obviously a lot to consider with this sort of thing. Obviously, those of us who love Affinity are a little bit stressed by this, I guess, and a little bit perplexed in some ways from a Affinity point of view. But I'll play two roles. I'll play devil's advocate, and then I'll play, I guess, a more, how it is for the future of us Affinity lovers. I used to use the Adobe products, and then one day I heard about Affinity, and I looked at some other programs and all the popular ones, and never really found anything that came close to Adobe. So when I found Affinity, I tried it for a trial period and purchased Photo, I think, at first, and then thought, "Oh, I wonder what the vector tools are like," and tried that. And I wasn't ever particularly experienced with Illustrator, but I had used it, and yeah, and that it was the rest is history. I ended up becoming far more involved in doing graphic design work and online publishing and PDF publishing and all this sort of stuff. And Affinity has well and truly been the go-to program suite for me. There's only a few things I wish it had, and one of the things that I wish it did have was animation tools. So, which Adobe still sort of has in a simple way. So, in recent times, I've joined the sort of the more of the industry, I guess, and picked up a bit of employment in an official sense, doing some graphic design work. And I've noticed there's a bit of a crossover nowadays where it's not just graphic design for print or for web use, but also for social media. And I guess that's something that's not new, but that's where Canva fits in. I first learned about Canva through I was a teacher. I finished up a couple of years ago, having a bit of a hiatus, and a student teacher I had showed me Canva, and I thought, kind of scoffed at it because I was already part of the Affinity master race, and I'm being ironic, of course, but I felt like, why would I use that? I've already got Affinity. Why would I use that? I can make literally everything except for animations and stuff like that, and probably a few other things I'm not sure about. But one thing I did recognize with Canva, and a couple of years, only last year, I did a marketing diploma, a social media and digital marketing diploma, and the people in there are marketing people. They're not designers, and I learned that they love Canva as well. So I realized, okay, I'm going to have to suss out Canva. I'm going to have to at least look at it. And I can now, after looking at it and I guess taking some time and having an open mind, I've realized Canva is fitting that crossover between just using for social media stuff. People who want to create maybe a banner or a reel or something like that with a bit of graphical elements in it. It's the point of entry is so accessible and it's so smooth to use. You can see why it's so popular. Anyone can see that. So why? I guess the question is, and I'll just go to my little list here so I don't lose track. So the ease of use is the point of entry. It's the average person who doesn't have a background in graphic design or hasn't spent the time with graphic design tools or with all the different platforms you need to be able to use. So it's a casual user kind of thing. But one other thing is, like Adobe, you enter the industry and everyone needs you to know Adobe tools. So I think, and the other thing is, like the two main tools I use in graphic design for this business I work with, the Adobe tools, and they also like me to use Canva a lot for a lot of their social media stuff and other things as well. Like I just did a banner yesterday for a video and they wanted it in Canva. I think I talked them out of it, but the that's the go-to. So that's what's in people's mind. And in that industry, you're kind of locked into Adobe because all the working files are in Adobe platform, like they're AI files or whatever, not artificial intelligence, Adobe Illustrator files or whatever. So, or InDesign and all that. So you can't just swap over to Affinity. So it's not that simple. There's thousands of files that it won't work, and unless you draw a line in the sand one day and say, right, that's it from now on, we're using Affinity for all our new projects, and we're going to work our way out of Adobe. That I don't see how that ever changes necessarily. So the ease of use is the big one, and I can see some integration that will make Canva better. And imagine a situation where you're making something and you want to use it as a post, and you're a bit more of a casual in the design sense, but you can handle using Canva and some basic tools, and you want, say, a photo to be edited. Imagine kind of like the tools where you can go between workspaces in Affinity between the three up the top left. I can't remember the name of it, but imagine that in Canva. So there's an Affinity button in Canva that pops open the app, and you can do all the powerful editing, and then you just pop back to Canva and it's already updated it live. It's not saving and exporting and uploading and all that. It's doing it all live. It's just doing it in a really seamless way. So you've got the sort of easy to use tools with just basic brightness, contrast, all that sort of stuff. Now I know there are some vector tools in Canva already. I haven't used them much, but I can just imagine that would be a really, I guess, a seamless thing as well. You've got some basic things. You can adjust the size and flip it or stretch it, all those sorts of things. But if you want to adjust nodes, then you double click or you right click and open up Affinity Designer and do those adjustments, and then you don't even have to save it. It just updates it in Canva. And then I could see maybe Canva will make a downloadable app that's part of the Affinity suite. So there'll be a Canva button where it will open up a platform that has a bunch of easy to use tools to speed things up. I'm not going to talk about AI. I think that's an exhausted subject. It's a fact that probably everything will have some form of AI. Obviously, there's a lot of legal issues with that. So I'm not going to talk about that. I want to keep this as short as possible. So I've kind of talked about the editing tools. Yeah, that doesn't really need to be discussed too much. The functionality of Affinity will improve the Canva products, in my opinion. I don't know how Affinity is improved by Canva, other than it's getting its name on the radar. The people I work with, they didn't even know what Affinity was 2 weeks ago when I mentioned it, that I use Affinity, and I know Affinity like the back of my hand, and getting back into Adobe is a bit of a challenge. So they'll see Affinity, what's Affinity? And so obviously it's going to increase the brand awareness of that. Will it ever be? It won't compete with Adobe. It's a great program, but Adobe just has such a stranglehold on the graphic design world, and they're always pushing, I guess, the trends, and obviously they're pushing into AI and stuff. Yeah, I think that trying to make it more accessible is another thing. So that's probably where this integration comes in for Canva and Affinity, is that they're really in the 21st century now with creating tools that are seamless for things like social media posts and stuff like that. So it's not just geared towards print media or things like that, but also really seamlessly creating an experience for more of a casual user. And there's a lot of casual users out there who work in the industry in jobs creating social media content and things that use Canva every day for paid work, and that subscription fee is not much considering the value you get out of it for Canva. I haven't used Canva on my own as a paid thing. So that brings us to the big elephant in the room, the subscription model. Again, this has been covered a lot. Like obviously one of the big draw cards to Affinity is the straight up payment and not the subscription model. I am actually shocked that they haven't become subscription. I bought V1 and then upgraded to V2, and I thought, here we go, V2, it's definitely going to be, there'll be a subscription option at least. But no, and it's like, wow, that's amazing. That, to me, it does show that they've taken a loss financially for the sake of the, I guess, integrity of the user and of the user experience, and they know what Affinity users like. But the fact remains that they have a great program suite that will, I hate to say it, will kind of fall behind. And I know some people obviously disagree with me, but it will fall behind if the rest of the industry is using subscriptions. So I think one thing that will be worth looking at is they've always tried to make it affordable, it seems, and I think Canva is pretty good value for what you get if you use it a lot. And Adobe is just so expensive. It's just ridiculously expensive for what you can do with other programs. And if you're willing to work a little bit extra, you can do most things like with free programs, but it's just clunky and not as integrated into the industry. So yeah, I think there'll definitely be a subscription. It might be an option. I wonder whether there'll be like an Affinity Lite, like a window in Canva that's more powerful tools that are developed by the Affinity developers. So it's like a stepped kind of system where I don't know, they could end up becoming too fragmented as well. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in that regard. I don't know. Obviously I'm a bit disappointed because I want Affinity to stay the way it is, but yeah, that will be something to pay a lot of attention to. Just thinking from a broad audience perspective, I can see why they've done this, why Canva have done this. I think Canva has brought an incredible amount of value to their products that will put them even more in a standing that they're a go-to in the industry. That may I don't think it's going to take anything away from Adobe. I think it's just I can see in certain industries that Canva having better tools to make more unique content easily will only bring more value to them. So I don't think it's the brand that they've brought in that's going to improve their product as from a marketing perspective. I think it's their functionality that they're bringing in, the experience of the people who have created the Affinity products to bring that functionality into Canva. I think that's what they're aiming for. That's my personal opinion on what they've done here. And a lot of this, it breaks my heart to say this stuff, but devil's advocate. Okay, so you may disagree with me, and I'm happy if you do. Like, let me know what you think. I don't usually do that, but let me know what you think in the comments. You could think I'm full of it, or try to step back a bit and say, well, this is 2024, and we still have a program that's not subscription, which is, to me, like even Microsoft Word is subscription. Like, obviously you can get a free versions and paid versions and stuff, but yeah, as soon as you move into that world, that's what's happened. So it is going to be, there's going to be some big changes. There's no doubt, and a lot of people have been reading into the wording of the CEO, and yeah, of course, like it's the same old talk. Like, it's politicians do it all the time, and CEOs do it all the time. It's just I think anyone who you don't even have to be biased. You can just see that there are going to be pretty big changes with the way Affinity works. But like maybe this is it. Maybe we had a good run and it's time to just say, all right, well, we'll use these programs as long as they're free, or not free, as long as we can use them on our systems, and that'll be that. Like, maybe that's the end of it. Maybe all good things must come to an end, or maybe they'll surprise us and always have a paid option, or it'll be really affordable and all that sort of thing. I don't know. Trying not to get too emotional about it, but yeah, I was definitely shocked, like a lot of people. So the video's gone on for a while now. I might make another one on some other aspects of it, I guess. I'll have a bit more of a think about what the future would be as far as how would they integrate. But I'm keen to hear what you have to say about this as well. And yeah, just let's get the conversation going a little bit about it. And yeah, hope you have a great day. See ya.